Apa sebenarnya?
I was about to-
Routine. Thank you, Zach.
Test.
Here. Regent Reed.
Here.
Regent David.
Here.
Regent May.
Here.
Regent Sterling. Here. Regent Temple.
Here.
Regent Williams Brown. Here. Have a quorum. Members, you received a copy of the minutes from the December 10th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the December 10th meeting?
Motion. Second.
Moved by Collins, seconded by May. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Moving on to our next item, the ratification of the committee assignments for 2026. Members, I've updated your committee assignments for this year. Please take a look at your assignments in your packets. I certainly appreciate each and every one of you who have agreed to serve as chairs and vice chairs this year. Are there any questions concerning the committee assignments? Can I get a motion to ratify the 2026 committee assignments?
Okay.
Moved by Temple, seconded by Sterling. Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. The assignments will be updated and all on relevant board of materials. This will be in effect for our next board meeting, which will be March. And I want to mention 2 additional assignments. I'm asking our personnel chair to lead contract negotiations with our commissioner, given her outstanding performance this year. And I'm asking Regent Temple to be our lead point person for the NIL issues, because he is an expert in all ways, and we're so happy that he has agreed to do that. As a former athlete, businessman, and parent of some amazing athletes, he's uniquely suited for this area. We're so happy to have you, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate Regents Creed and Temple for their assistance in this matter. Moving on to our next item, reports and recommendations. We will start with legislative. 2026 legislative reports update. Members, we have 2 legislative reports to receive today. First up is the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force report. As you recall, our House concurrent resolution number 37 of the 2025 regular session established the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force, following the tragic death of the Southern University student Caleb Wilson. Ms. Brianna Golden Phillips, Dr. Allison Smith, our 2 rock stars, staffed the entire task force for Regents, and they did a phenomenal job. And ladies, will you please proceed with your report comments?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. And it is that time of the year again where we at the Board of Regents, where we house a lot of legislative reports and been tasked with submitting them to the legislature. We have been busy this year, within the past few months, submitting a lot of our reports. So as you can see on the screen here, the Board of Regents submits a total of 14 annual reports each year to various legislative committees. As a result of the 2025 regular legislative session, we have had 4 one-time reports. 2 of them we will talk about today. As Madam Chair mentioned, the NIL Task Force report and the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force report. That brought it up to a total of 18 total reports that we have had to produce. And I could proudly say we have submitted 15 reports and we only have 3 left.
Oh.
We have been working hard here. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Dr. Smith, to talk about the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force.
Good morning, everyone. Through 4 meetings and a hazing prevention summit since August of last year, the task force had come up with 8 recommendations across 2 broader categories, which we will walk through today. For the first one is an increased annual training for the entire campus community, which reinforces shared expectations, increasing awareness of legal and institutional consequences, encouraging reporting and bystander intervention, and sustaining lifelong, long-term culture training necessary to protect student safety. This is increased training for all students on campus, all faculty and staff, appropriate faculty and staff, and then those who all serve as an advisor, making sure that those who are closest to our student associations, that they have the best available knowledge and they understand the consequences of not performing their duties as assigned. Providing annual training for those advisors will strengthen their prevention, and then also giving them the tools to identify necessary risks to intervene early and to ensure compliance with institutional practices. Comprehensive faculty and staff training will reinforce statewide efforts while ensuring consistent understanding. So sometimes we know that even if an institution has a similar policy or sister or additional institutions within a system, that is not necessarily a shared statewide understanding. So with this consistent training, all faculty and staff and all of those who serve in an advisory capacity will have the exact same understanding of what it means to serve in those roles when it comes to hazing prevention on our campuses. And our two broad categories were increased training for the entire community and stronger accountability for reporting and compliance. For the next set, for our policy recommendations, with the designation of hazing as a clear reportable crime with the passage of the Stop Campus Hazing Act of 2024, that now makes the 15th reportable crime. As you're familiar with some of our power-based violence reporting, all of our campuses are required to have campus crime statistics on their campus websites. Now hazing is a part of that documentation. So you will be able to go there twice a year and see what those hazing report numbers are. And this regular reporting will promote transparency, oversight, and data-informed decision-making, allowing the legislature to monitor trends, evaluate policy effectiveness, and to identify emerging risks. This also keeps us in compliance with the Stop Campus Hazing Act, which requires that a campus transparency hazing report be produced at least twice a year. We will align the federal reporting requirement with our statewide reporting requirement. One of the top recommendations that came up was to do a review and the appropriate evidentiary standard change to enable institutions to act decisively to protect student safety while maintaining fairness and due process for those impacted in hazing-related proceedings. Louisiana is currently the only state that requires a clear and convincing standard of evidence in hazing-related cases, while nationally only one public post-secondary system and 3 institutions of higher education employ that standard, where it was previously a preponderance of evidence standard. The recommendation of the committee is to revert back to the preponderance of evidence standard. And lastly, we have our financial implications. What we know is that inconsistent enforcement across campuses undermines the work being done, confidence, and trust in the process. And so while we will define consequences to promote consistency and transparency, there will be meaningful penalties for noncompliance, and that will reinforce accountability, ensure consistent enforcement of all hazing prevention requirements across the state of Louisiana. And additionally, without dedicated or recurring funding, it will be an impossible task for our campuses to keep up with the mandates that we are asking, the standards we're asking them to uphold. So the task force has asked that they have consistent training and prevention materials through a legislative appropriations based on their recommendation and what they have heard from the. And with that, the senior staff recommends the board accept the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force report as requested by the legislature.
I am going to interject a little comment. I was able to attend just about every one of these meetings, and they were always very well run. The discussion was very robust, and the family was at each and every meeting. So being able to look at that family while we were doing this work made it even more impactful. Caleb's mom weighed in at just about every meeting. So they were very, very much a part of this task force, and some of the comments and offerings that they had helped formulate a lot of the discussion that led to these policy changes. So I don't know if they're listening today, but we hear you, and we certainly appreciate the effort, time, and heart and soul you put into this. So thank you. Is there a motion to accept the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force report?
So moved.
So moved by Regent May, seconded by Tipple. Any further discussions?
I had one time and I was asked by a task force member to read a specific part of the report for the record. The task force extends its sincere gratitude to the family of Mr. Caleb Wilson for their steadfast presence, engagement, and courage throughout this difficult and deeply personal process. The willingness of the Wilson family to participate in this work serves as a constant reminder of the tragic impact of hazing, the urgency of prevention, and the importance of accountability. In closing, the task force respectfully produced this report as a call to action and a commitment to protecting the safety of every student entrusted to Louisiana's higher education.
Any questions or any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Allison. The next update is the name, image, and likeness NIL Task Force report. Thank you to the Regents Temple and Aubrey for serving on the NIL Task Force. This task force discussed the landscape of not only college sports, but also high school sports and all sports in Louisiana as well. I believe this task force report is a good step toward protecting our athletes. Ms. Golden Phillips and Ms. Jolie Lyles, please present the recommendations.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone, again, and I want to introduce you all to Ms. Jolie Lyles with the Office of the Attorney General. She is a named member to the task force and was really an excellent tag team partner along with Harry Skip Phillips at the Attorney General's office. We held each other down and held each other up as well in getting this moving forward. The task force has met since July of 2025 all the way up to December 2025 and have had some really robust discussions around student protection and how the institutions could move forward in this new space since the House settlement. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Lyles to give a brief overview on the actions leading up to the House settlement as it sits today.
For those who may have not dove into NIL before, I know it may seem like a relatively recent new update in the college athletics realm, and it is, but NIL has been around forever. It stems from the right of publicity, meaning that, you own your name, image, and likeness. People can't take it and promote it and use it without your permission. The real first crack in the wall for collegiate athletics and athletes being able to earn NIL money was in 2008. Ed O'Bannon was a former UCLA basketball player, and he was sitting at home with his friends and saw someone who looked strangely like him in a video game wearing a UCLA jersey and wearing his number, playing his position. That led to lawsuits over the years that unfortunately didn't win at that time, but in 2021, the NCAA finally allowed student athletes to earn compensation for their name, image, and likeness. Fast forward, the floodgates have been blown open. Everyone has seen it in the headlines, and this past summer, the House settlement in 2025 was passed. This really started in 2020. A group of collegiate athletes all had different grievances with the NCAA, and so they kind of mushed it together into one class action lawsuit. The big things here were that, not as important to us today, but there's back pay to collegiate athletes from 2016 to 2024. Those student athletes weren't able to earn compensation for their NIL, but they're now going to be able to collect damages for that money that they missed out on making. Another thing that happened was roster limits were eliminated. So the scholarship caps is eliminated, but there are a set number of roster limits that happen. And there's a new reporting structure for third-party NIL deals. When a student athlete does a social media deal or earns money for being in a commercial, they now have to report it to the newly formed College Sports Commission. And the biggest thing that we've been talking about throughout the entire task force is colleges can now pay their student athletes directly. So this year is a $20.5 million cap at each university, which obviously not all of them are going to be able to spend that much money, but it is expected to increase over the next 10 years.
And as you can see before you, these are a list of the institutions in Louisiana that have opted to participate in the House settlement, which they would be bound by the terms of the House settlement, so they can participate in revenue sharing. They would be able to have they would have to have the roster caps and all the other provisions outlined in the settlement. So I just wanted to make sure that you all. As we go towards, as we go and look at what are the governing provisions of NIL, like Jolie said, NIL has been around, or the thought of NIL and the discussions have been around for a long time. But back in 2021, that's when you first saw Louisiana as having established NIL law that was passed, and it's now housed in revised statute 173703, which basically gives an outlined, a detailed outline of the institutional rights, what institutions are obligated to do, in addition to what the rights that student athletes have as it results and relates to their NIL and earning compensation. So as Jolie already mentioned, institutions are now permitted to do revenue sharing. Student athletes are now entitled to earn NIL compensation through third-party deals, whether that's with Pepsi or Puma or Coca-Cola or anything like that. But Also, when we look at the high school level, and this is a conversation that came up during the task force, the Louisiana High School Athletic Association back in April of 2022 did put out a press release permitting that high school students are allowed to participate in third-party NIL deals. However, there was no subsequent policy that followed. We have had conversations with the LHSAA. We have 2 members of the task force who are part of the LHSAA, the legendary coach JT Curtis from John Curtis High School, in addition to Dr. Grady Smith, who is a principal in Shreveport High School. And from the first meeting, they were very, very adamant to make sure that student protection, student mental health was at the forefront. Because at this point right now, and Coach Curtis has shared, that there are individuals who are athlete agents that are having conversations and presenting contracts and deals to high school students at this time. Therefore, we wanted to make sure that we prioritize student protections, not only on the collegiate level, but have a foundational proposed law for those on the high school level. And then I'm going to toss it to Jolie to talk about what's going on in the federal space, because there are some pending federal pieces of legislation on NIL as well.
Yeah, so it's pretty complicated right now. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about how we should move forward, whether it's a state by state basis or it's going to be federal legislation. I think most of the universities are hoping for federal legislation to go through, but it's being heavily debated. As you can see, the SCORE Act and the SAFE Act, and I believe there's even been another act that was introduced, but it's having trouble getting passed. And so that's why it's even more important for us, not only to continue to monitor it, but for us to set some baselines right now, because we don't know when those are going to be passed and if they even will be at all.
Thank you. So I wanted to go into the areas of report recommendations. There are a series of report recommendations separated from legislative into best practices, and we have 5 recommended legislative recommendations. The first one, I'm going to turn it back to Jolie, but that would be to expand the athlete agent registration process to cover NIL agents as well.
Yes, Attorney General Liz Murrill, her biggest thing that came out of this task force is that we want to protect the student athletes, especially like Bree mentioned with our high school student athletes. We are having 14, 15, 16-year-olds being approached by agents or their parents being approached by agents. And, how can we put that responsibility on them to know who is, the good operators and the bad operators? So right now, what we really see with our agent registration process at the Attorney General's office is that it is only professional sports agents. So you're thinking about those agents representing NFL players, representing people in the NBA, the MLB. What we want to do is open up that agent registration process to everyone that's representing a student athlete, especially in NIL matters. So we want the NIL representatives, the marketing representatives, we want all attorneys registering with us so that we can eventually form a public database so that all student athletes, college and high school, and all the parents can see who is registered with us. We are wanting to update it a little bit to include background checks. We don't want someone who might have been convicted of a financial crime working with these kids. And we also want to put in place a mandatory training program. Nothing that's overly burdensome to our agents, but just along the lines of if you have family members acting as agents, they can get a quick update about what our current state laws are and how they can best serve our student athletes.
Thank you. One of the next recommendations, as I've already mentioned, is to establish some high school NIL laws, just to kind of serve as a foundation for this new endeavor. Right now, and one of the things that we talked about in the task force is to make sure that we have student protection in the forefront. So that means that a parent would have to sign off if a high school student decides to want to earn NIL compensation. We wanted to list out a prohibited list of industries that a high schooler may not earn NIL compensation from, such as drugs, alcohol, tobacco, adult entertainment. Also, it would give high school coaches a little bit of wiggle room to be able to say to a student athlete, should they want to participate in NIL and should they have let's say an NIL photo shoot during scheduled practice time or during scheduled academic time, that they would be able to tell that athlete that they would have to be able to reschedule it. And so with that, we're going to work with the LHSAA to make sure that they have some policies and procedures and guidance once this is able to go through. And we've had a lot of conversations with them on this. Next part, and this is something that is kind of already set in place, it's just making sure that we fine tune it for the colleges. We want to update and revise the college NIL laws. And right now, the way the law is written, it makes it optional for an institution, a system in an institution to have a NIL policy. We want to make sure that that is mandatory, which I want to say for the record, a majority, if not all of the colleges and universities at this point already do have policies, but we want to make sure that we have that mandated language, since this is a space that, as you can see, a majority of our Division I colleges are going into. In addition to making sure that in their policies that they have someone designated as a point of contact for NIL compliance on their campus, so that questions, concerns can be directed to that individual. Two things that came up as a result of conversations on the task force will be two recommendations for some study resolutions. Number one would be to study possibly establishing trust accounts for high school student athletes, just to make sure that, and to explore that, as these athletes get approached for NIL third-party deals, that they're able to possibly save a little bit of their money, that it's all not, squandered, it doesn't go away. This is kind of monitored or molded after the Coogan Law, which is the child actors law that has been in effect for several decades now. And so that is something that the task force wanted to explore, creating a mechanism similar to that, to make sure that student athletes in high school are able to save some of their contractual compensation. And then secondly, which is also a really, really important topic as we explore revenue sharing, and as the institutions are entering this era of revenue sharing, that we study athletic department funding. That means analyzing it fully and wholly, looking at existing policies, procedures, guidance, and how athletic departments are funded. And then additionally, some best practices that were discussed during the task force was making sure that student health is prioritized, and that the institutions are looking for ways to continue to prioritize student athlete mental health. As I mentioned, one of the first conversations that we had during the meeting back in July is that, this is a very stressful era for student athletes. Not only is it stressful when you're competing and making sure that you are, you're winning, but when you're adding NIL and other external factors into the mix, that this could be and is going to result in a lot of additional external stressors. So making sure that that is an ongoing conversation, and making sure that the institutions are looking for ways to support student athletes. Next one, and I'll toss it over to Jolie, but adherence to Title IX when engaging in revenue sharing.
Yes, we really talked to the universities about and stressing the importance of considering Title IX implications when they are engaging in revenue sharing and NIL deals. It's no secret that some schools and universities in other states have been on the news for cutting certain women's programs or cutting certain sports. And so while we know and we talked about the importance of the funding, we also know that they need to consider, and we urge them to consider, always looking at Title IX and, prioritizing their non-Olympic or their Olympic sports and the women's sports.
And then lastly, and as far as engaging in best practices, it is establishing and having a conversation about uniformity on as to how international athletes are treated with respect to revenue sharing in this era. Right now, there are very strict visa requirements as it relates to international students who are there on visas. There were some conversations that some of the athletic directors do consider that earning NIL compensation in addition to revenue sharing could result in that being considered active income. And so if it is a form of active income, that could potentially jeopardize a student's visa. So making sure that these institutions are uniform when in prohibiting that they earn revenue sharing deals on campus, as to not jeopardize their visas on campus. So that was something that the task force wanted to stress. And in terms of uniformity across policies. And that is just an overview of what I've covered as it relates to report recommendations. And with that, senior staff recommends that the board accept the NIL report requested by the legislature.
Thanks, guys, so much for your presentation. Regent Aubrey or Temple, would you like to add anything that you got?
Yes, just the whole first of all, both of these ladies did an absolutely amazing job representing us and uh the consistency and engagement. Um and she was going above and beyond. She got really excited when Master P came. But she was excited every day that we were there. But I mean, it's a completely different uh, landscape from a college athletics perspective right now, and it changes so many parts and pieces. An example: my daughter is a 15-year-old freshman in high school. Now, I mean, the thought was, okay, once she's a senior, she'll be signing and going somewhere, right? She has to choose and for the most part sign by the time that she is after her sophomore year now. They have to decide. So I mean, she's choosing what's going to happen basically for the next 6 years. As a 16-year-old, she's got to make that decision, right? So it changes the whole dynamic. And it's not just a decision about where you want to go to school and your athletic experience. You think about at 16, now they're like, okay, now we're having financial conversations. I gave her a book, NIL, I gave her a book. I said, you need to read this. I'm reading it, her mom's reading it, just so we can be aware. But if a person does not have that kind of support, knowledge, understanding, which the reality is the mass majority don't. She mentioned, don't have that. She mentioned if somebody that's a family member wants to be an agent and has all of the greatest intentions, which unfortunately everybody doesn't. There's still so much that is just unknown, and so that is why I appreciated the desire on the state's part to attempt to put something in place to try to mitigate abuse and do the best we can to take to help the student athletes, because you look at how many of the universities, most of the universities are involved in some capacity, right? And so I thought it was a absolutely responsible and necessary move for us to be involved in some capacity. So and they did a phenomenal job the entire time.
Yeah, my experience was good. I certainly commend two ambassadors per se. I mean, they really did a good job of casting the net wide, of keeping all of us focused on really providing a framework for the legislature to really engage on creating best practices going down an area that doesn't really exist, but not being so restrictive for Louisiana that it forces athletes to go into other states.
Right.
So it was very careful, but we did put a lot of time on the high school students, being very protective of those minors. And then from my perspective, I think seeing Grady Smith, principal of Woodlawn there, and John Curtis, they were very engaged, but it was legislators. It was a real inclusive group, and we really touched on a lot of space. I mean, after our first meeting, some rules came out that changed the game. In the middle of the whole deal. So it's definitely a new era. And I tried to put the corporate hat on and watch. From our company, Trinidad, Ole Miss, y'all see the commercials. We, you didn't win and go, but we took them to the national championship to do some engagement. But companies, we're creating our own division. We have marketing, so now we got a different division just focused on that and how we've participated and how we're considering. And interesting about agents, I'll just say this. There are some bad actors out there, even around Louisiana, or people who are taking advantage because they know the parents and know people. You know, I know Carla, so I can get you a meeting and do it. I mean, there's crazy stuff happening. But there are also some good parents who really want to be aligned with reputable companies, reputable people. And I can appreciate many of them. They see us out there and they looking for a pathway and a process to get their kids the exposure. And you know, hearing a parent say that their high school child is, you know, it's two-parent household, both of them work, but he's the man that brings the most money in the house now. I mean, it's a game changer. For
At
the parents.
17 and 18.
Yeah, not a senior, we're talking junior and sophomore, he makes better than both parents combined high school. And now we gotta protect your tax return for the parents because, you know, and we got
Crazy.
some recommendations in there to address that. So it's moving so fast, a lot of information. I can imagine if we give this report, but not even a year from now, we'll be like, can we get that group together? 'Cause it's gonna be a lot of change.
Moving target.
It's a moving target.
Continue to be so for a while. Great, just for the record, because you guys kind of give everybody that's listening in, an idea of who was on the task force, because you guys did do such a good job of having every single school represented by an AD and amongst others, so
Absolutely.
call you out on that.
We had I wanna say, it was over 20 people that sat on this task force. We had 2 members of the House of Representatives, Representative Rashid Young chaired it. He's the one who authored House Resolution 15. Representative Timmy Chasson was the co-chair. He's from the Lafayette area. We had athletic directors from almost every single ULS school. We had athletic directors from Southern University system. We had a individual representing the LTCS system. We had a majority of you all here participating. As you mentioned, Regent Temple, Regent Aubrey, Chair Cornell, you were there. And so we had a wide range of individuals participating on this robust task.
Collegiate student athletes as well to share
Absolutely.
their
Most
personal,
important.
experiences and opinions.
Absolutely.
So the people that were weighing in were the people that are gonna work and live in this world every day. And really, I think Louisiana is on the forefront of putting together such a great task force to have these conversations. And I just want to commend you guys and everybody that was a part of this also. I mean, it's very eye-opening to me. And we've got a lot of work to do, so. thank
And
you.
an agent.
Is what?
And we had one agent.
Yeah, we did. We had an agent. That's right. So everybody got a voice on the task force. Thanks so much for putting that together.
Sure, I just want to add one point, because I think we talked a lot about protection, but I got to sit next to the legend, JT Curtis. And he talked about the importance of students being a part of an educational system to get their education. And how we're moving away from that, right? Not a student athlete, but an athlete. And so I know for us at the Board of Regents, we want to make sure that we are supporting good legislation, good policy, but also the opportunity for students to get their degrees, have an opportunity to have that credential of value and move forward. That's important as well. And as Collis mentioned, as a former athlete, Joe Lee is a former college athlete. The environment has completely changed.
Yep.
But the foundation of why people go to school, I think we have to try to hang on to that while we continue to support, the new opportunities for student athletes as well.
All right, is there any further discussion? Any questions or objections? I move that we accept the NIL task force report. Somebody like to make a motion? Regent Creed, seconded by Regent May. Okay, any discussions? I got ahead of myself, guys. I'm sorry. Any further discussions, questions, or objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thanks again so much for all of your work.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you guys.
Did great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a discussion regarding the upcoming legislative session, which will be Monday, March 9th. Everybody mark your calendars. Elizabeth and Bree, the floor is yours.
All right, so I will start with a brief discussion on where we're standing with our budget request. Currently, our EOB, our current fiscal year budget, is a little over $1.3 billion. I want to make note, this is just our state general fund, so this is not inclusive of all means of financing. We requested $118 million for both our formula and focus on continued institutional stability and efficiency, as well as focus on affordability, of course, and targeted requests. And I'll go into a little detail about those next. Currently, the executive budget that was presented by the Division of Administration on behalf of Governor Landry included a couple of adjustments, of which we're very excited to make note of. One is, I'll point those out on the next slide. But here you'll see that there was a swap of funding for TOPS, some LSU First cost increases that were supported, inflation increase that was related to the HSC Shreveport Cancer Center. It's reflected here as per Act 171. Some increases for the UL system board, as well as non-recurring some line items and some reflected cost savings. So as I said, I'm excited to note that of our $118 million request, we received, as it stands in the executive budget, $14.5 million for the MJ Foster Promise, which is wonderful. This brings us up to $25 million for the MJ Foster Scholarship Program for next fiscal year. As a note, we have already expended all of the funding that we have received for the MJ Foster program within the current year. So this is just going to be a tremendous benefit for our students who are working on those workforce credentials. So we're very excited and thankful for Governor Landry including this in our executive budget request. And then we also have received an additional $4 million to support the START savings program. This is both for college savings, K through 12, as well as our ABLE students. This software upgrade is tremendous benefit to these 529 programs. Right now, we're still working on paper. So this is a lift, and we're just very, very thankful that they supported this request for us as well. Again, we did request some formula funding for both our 2- and 4-year institutions, our specialized institutions. We requested dual enrollment funding and of course, some funding for our need-based GO Grant scholarship program and a little bit of funding for the SOC at Lonnie. As Chair Cordell noted, the session starts on March 9th, but we've already got our boots to the ground requesting some support for these additional requests as well. We also had some one-time requests, which haven't been put in yet, but we're excited to see what may evolve from here. I want to make note that a large sum, $175 million, would be a tremendous benefit to all of our 4 systems. This would allow each of the system leadership to really have a streamlined process for monitoring each of their institutions and looking at each of their institutions' fiscal health in a real-time analysis. So that would just be a tremendous benefit for our systems. And again, as we noted in October, Regent Aubrey, we added the teacher recruitment request of $5 million per your ad. And then of course, some other funding for campus safety, workforce funding for both our 2- and our 4-year institutions, textbook affordability, and hunger-free campuses. We also have requested some additional dollars to support our Act 751 Deferred Maintenance Fund. As I know y'all are each very much aware, our deferred maintenance costs for our institutions is a little over $2 billion. So any type of funding we can receive to help push that along is just tremendous. The first year of Act 751, we did receive 100 million. We received 25 million. The second year, Rep. Turner is already putting out billboards to get some additional funding for this fund. So we are thankful for his support in moving this across the finish line. We also, with the Governor's Task Force on Public Higher Education Reform, part of their recommendations was $1 million to kind of get us off the ground and pushing that accreditation process forward. And then as both Bree and Allison noted, the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Task Force, there's some recommendations that will require a little bit of funding as well. And so we're excited to see how that moves forward with those recommendations. I did just want to make a note, as I said, we did request some formula funding. That of course is one of the greatest benefits to our institutions. We are required within the Constitution to have worked, you know, as you all know, we worked with our institutions and our system head in developing our new formula. We haven't put it in place yet, so we're really hoping to get some formula funding this year to make that happen. We haven't been able to run our formula now for 3 years due to the standstill budget. So we just hope this will be a wonderful year to move that as well across the finish line.
Our lips to God's ears.
Thank you, Chair Carney.
All right, back to me again. As Madam Chair already mentioned, legislative session starts on Monday, March 9th. So we are already rocking and rolling, having exploratory conversations on proposed legislation. And I've already mentioned, myself and Dr. Smith have already mentioned some of the proposed legislation coming out of the NIL task force and the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention task force. So I just want to provide a high level overview on some of the areas that we are exploring legislative wise. First up, TOPS for Docs. This is going to be a repeat of what we tried to have passed last year. TOPS for Docs got lost in the top shuffle of 2025 regular legislative session. So we want to be able to bring that bill back that would allow a student who opted to waive their TOPS and go out of state, if they want to come back in state and go to an in-state medical school or school of dentistry, to be able to use their TOPS for that. Next up would be the expansion of TOPS Tech Early College Credit eligibility. So this is also another bill that got lost last year in the top shuffle. This would allow a student who is eligible for, make a student eligible for TOPS Tech if they got up to 9 dual enrollment credits. Speaking of dual enrollment, another thing that we are currently exploring is creating a uniform application process for dual enrollment. So if a student wants to participate in a dual enrollment program, at a public post-secondary institution, they would be able to use a uniform application at those institutions. I've already, Dr. Smith has already gone over the hazing prevention recommendation for additional training and education. Digital misuse, this is an exploratory conversation we're having. Senator Barrow currently chairs and works with our office on the power-based violence review panel. That's another task force that Regents has housed here. I work with that task force. At our last meeting in December, we had a very robust discussion on how AI has started advancing on college campuses. It does stem, and the discussion did stem from an incident that happened at a middle school with the use and the creation of digital sexualized deepfake images. And it was a very unfortunate incident, but that did serve as a catalyst for discussion as to how that could possibly show up on college campuses. So that is something that we are currently exploring and having additional conversations with Senator Barrow on. I've already discussed some of the legislative recommendations for NIL. We talked about high school NIL laws. updating and mandating policies on college campuses. We talked about the study recommendations, the study resolutions for athletic department funding. Another task force that was at the Board of Regents was phased retirement. We have all kinds of task force housed with us. Elizabeth, do you want to talk about phased retirement real quick in that recommendation?
Sure. So, there were a couple of recommendations. The phased retirement task force was born out of a task force that we had the year before. And Rep. Bakla said, well, you did such a great job the first time, let's do it again. Okay, so we brought forth members, representatives from all four systems to talk about phased retirement and using that as a catalyst for succession planning, but also an efficiency module as well. Once again, we met with Bree and I met with Rep. Bakla, and he said, he looked at us, he said, do you agree with the task force recommendations? We said, yeah, they were great. He said, great, we're doing them all. So he's putting them all forward and we're pressing on there. So we're very excited about his support.
So more to come with that. And then lastly, as far as priorities go, as you all know, last year there were conversations about what would happen to the support fund. In the event that it does go away. So one of the things that we are exploring right now and working with one of the senators across the street is should the support fund just so happen to be voted away in the upcoming election, this would allow for the institutions to make sure that there are matching dollars and that the management boards oversee the support fund at their campuses. And so, as I mentioned, that was just a brief overview of some of the proposed legislative items that we are exploring or having conversations about right now. So with that, senior staff recommends granting the commissioner and the board chair authority to finalize the 2026 legislative agenda and act on legislation as needed with an update to the board at the March 2026.
Thank you both for all of your hard work. Is there a motion to grant the commissioner or myself authority to finalize the 2026 legislative agenda? Ready?
Second.
Second, Bobby. Any further discussions? Any?
Good.
Yes, sir.
Well, not on the committee. With regard to this, on the first slide, you highlighted two items. That means that they're part of the priorities, but they've already been pulled and recommended by the administration. Is that the reason why those? No?
From the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, those are highlighted.
Yeah, so this was part of our budget request that we provided the Commissioner of Administration on November 1st. And Governor Landry included those two items in the executive budget. So yes, they are part and parcel to the executive budget.
So the other part
That,
of the hundred,
yeah.
101 million, et cetera.
Correct.
We've got to
push on.
make it part of the agenda, find sponsors, to do that. With regard to the teacher education, because,
Yeah,
you
sure.
come to, hearing Secretary Bourgeois and the team at LED and all the great things that are happening on the economic development front. It's about to be, some brighter days are coming in terms of jobs and opportunities. Right. And I'm just concerned that, a lot of the other programs are going to get a lot of attention. So I'm really interested in helping out. My first job out of college, I taught Algebra 1. I really want to make sure that we can push the teacher education because somebody has got to teach. We've got to have these programs, resource to provide the teachers in the workforce. So I know it's there, it's kind of embedded, it ain't big and bold and highlighted, but we need to really emphasize that. And I just see the momentum on the technology and the workforce training, which is needed. But somebody's got to be teaching those.
We have to get them there first.
You have to get them there. So I just want to emphasize, so I would like to help find sponsors, particularly for that one. We need to get some excellent people to help that bill, and I would like to make it part of some of our corporate agenda well built. Yes.
You're way.
We need it.
We're seeing a lot of jobs, opportunity in Louisiana. If we want those jobs to go to our citizens, we have to prepare them for those jobs.
Okay. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next up is facilities and property. Chris Herring, we'd like to hear from you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the first item we have for facilities and property is the consent agenda. It contains 14 small capital projects that were approved since the last meeting of the facilities committee. Shown here on the slides, and if there are no questions on any projects, we recommend approval of the consent agenda containing the small capital projects as presented.
Is there a motion to accept the small capital project report?
Second.
David, and seconded by May. Any further discussion? Questions or objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next up.
Item 2 is a Act 959 project request submitted on behalf of LSU Health Sciences Center New Orleans to build out some space within their advanced learning and simulation facility. This project, the original interim hospital there on campus was repurposed a few years ago to create the current state-of-the-art Center for Advanced Learning and Simulation facility, which trains future healthcare professionals and also supports continuing education for the medical professionals on campus. Due to the growth of the medical school, the upper floors of that facility are at capacity and they need additional space to support faculty and staff. So this project will build out approximately 7,500 square feet of space on the third floor of that building to expand clinical office space. The total project cost is approximately $3 million, and it will be funded with self-generated revenues, which are derived from physician lease payments and ongoing grant allocations. Be happy to answer any questions on this project. Otherwise, senior staff recommends approval of the 959 project to renovate space on the third floor of Health Science Center, New Orleans Center for Advanced Learning and Simulation Facility.
Quite a mouthful. Is there a motion to accept the Act 959 project at LSU Health Sciences in New Orleans?
Second.
Reed and Judy Williams Brown. Any further discussion? Questions or objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
All right, I stole your thunder on the last.
That's all right. You're still up.
So the last item is a third-party project at Louisiana Tech University. This project was brought to your attention when we were up there in October for our board meetings in North Louisiana. And currently Tech operates a cogeneration power plant that produces electrical power, provides steam to the main campus. The plant uses a natural gas fired turbine generator to produce electricity, and the heat recovery system provides steam, which is used for heating and cooling in campus buildings. The distribution systems are old. They've been in operation since the 40s without any significant upgrades. And due to the age and condition of these systems and the cost of operating the plant, Tech's concerned about the long-term integrity and reliability of their continued use. This project will allow Louisiana Tech to discontinue the use of the cogeneration power plant and tie into local utility service providers. The scope involves, again, decommissioning the plant. They'll be replacing mechanical and electrical systems so that they'll be able to tie into those local utility companies at the end of 2027. They'll also be replacing gas or steam boilers and chillers to connect to the new utility services there provided by the city of Ruston and others. The total project cost is approximately $17 million, which includes the cost of improvements, the funding of reserve funds, capitalized interest, and the bond issuance costs. The maintenance reserve fund will be funded at a level of $50,000 per year. And according to the pro forma that's been provided by the UL system and the bond council, the savings from the decommissioning of the plant will be sufficient to cover the annual debt service. So they'll actually have a net gain from the decommissioning the plant of around $300,000 per year in excess of the debt service. I'll be happy to answer questions on this project. Otherwise, senior staff recommends approval of the third-party project submitted on behalf of Louisiana Tech to construct infrastructure improvements related to the removal of existing power plant.
Chris, what is the involvement of the 501c3?
So it's a typical third-party project, so they'll lease the sites in the areas to innovative student facilities. They'll be responsible for actually completing the work, managing the projects. And then upon completion and satisfying of the debt service, it'll revert back to the institution.
All right, is there a motion to accept the Louisiana Tech infrastructure project?
So move.
So moved by Regent May, seconded by Simple. Any further discussion, questions or objections?
Chris, was this reviewed by any independent or third party? Did the UL system or the regents ask anybody to really look at this from the financial standpoint? I know we have some of these agreements, the UL and the UNO and some of those things, and sometimes they don't always hit the benchmarks at the level at which people articulate at this point. But are we really comfortable that this is a good model for Louisiana Tech?
Well, yes, they've obviously engaged bond counsel on developing the figures, and I think on this one, which is different from some of the others, you mentioned it's not based on projected cost savings from energy efficiency. This is a set cost. They're spending $1.6 million per year to operate that plant to treat steam that's released into the atmosphere. So once that's decommissioned, that's $1.6 million annually that won't be spent for that cost, and those savings there are used to pay the debt service. It's not based on.
No other revenue, there's no other cost, there's no other anticipated cost to service the debt, the repayment besides the 1.6. No other.
Right, that's my understanding. I have folks from the bond council here that might be able to answer that further, but it's my understanding that's what I'm saying.
Barbara, do you want bond counsel at the table? Good.
Here.
They're having them,
Yeah.
they're raising up. You wanna hear from them? Y'all wanna give us thumbs up or down on it? You guys are hearing, you
got it all.
calculated it?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I can attest that old plants cost a whole lot to keep up.
And if these systems were to fail, it'd be a catastrophic situation, institution, because there's no available funding source to quickly address this problem. If they had to wait on capital outlay, say it failed in July and sessions ended, and potentially waited to the subsequent spring.
We'll figure out a way to get them some power. We'll figure that out. Now I hear you. I get it. Just in today's environment, we have to be prudent, very prudent. Make sure we've done our due diligence. People coming, of course, are good, and people sit at that table, like you said, not the bond council, but people say, hey, all is well, and then we'll leave. And I don't want to read any more articles. Then that's not really what happened. And that's all that was independently verified, not by bond, finance side, but operationally, if you're saying that 1.6 in the new model, that can service it.
I'm saying.
Any further discussion, questions or objections? No objections. Hearing none. Motion passes. Next is academic and student affairs. First item is the consent agenda. Dr. Tristan Denley, will you please proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So consent agenda consists of three sets of work today. The first is a set of routine staff approvals that are just some name changes and some very standard adjustments. I will mention one of those staff approvals, which is the change of name at Grambling State University from the College of Business to the Thomas and Joyce Moorhead College of Business and Entrepreneurship. So this is based on a very substantial gift from Thomas and Joyce Moorhead to Grambling. It's the first time that a degree granting college at Grambling has been named in this way across Grambling's long history. So we certainly want to thank the Moorheads for their generosity. Now, ordinarily, an item like this would not come to our board for approval, but there is a very slight change in the name of the college, as well as naming for a donor, which would not normally come to us. They have added and an entrepreneurship to the name, which consequently that's the reason why it's come to us for approval. Now that and entrepreneurship again is in reflection for the Moorhead's generosity that they've added the Thomas A. Moorhead Student Entrepreneur and Investment Fellows Program to the offerings that they have. And so consequently now entrepreneurship will be very much a part of the running of that college. So certainly wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
Is this like on board already approved the name change?
Then you also sure that's right. That's right. At their December meeting. Similarly, terminations. So we're making sure every meeting that we make clear when campuses are making good on the commitments that they made earlier in the year to bring programs to a close. And so there are another 5 programs that are on the agenda today from LSU A&M. Some bachelor's degrees, some graduate certificates, and post-baccalaureate certificates. And again, these are part and parcel of the package of programs, some of which you approved immediately as part of the September meeting, but others that, as we said, would be gradually coming through as the year progressed. So those 5 from LSU A&M are there for your approval today. And then lastly, in the consent agenda is LSU A&M is asking to establish a new school of construction. That school of construction will house the Burt Turner Department of Construction Management. I'm sure you know that construction management program has been in existence for some time and really is a tremendous asset to the state. Just recently, actually just a little less than a year ago, you approved 2 new degree programs for that department, one in construction engineering and then another bachelor's degree in fire and emergency service administration. So that department will now move into the school. They're not asking right now for any additional programs or resources or any of those things, but that creation of the school really does raise the profile and prominence of this work at LSU, really sort of recognizing the importance of construction to the life of the state. So with that, I will say that senior staff recommend the approval of the items on the consent agenda.
Just want to note on the school of construction, and I think that's critically important. Louisiana right now, more than $70 billion in new investment announced in LSU. School is unique and it focuses on the construction overseeing $70+ billion, more so on the industrial side versus vertical construction, which is many construction management. So strongly support the funding of the program and with that program moving forward. And I think it will be very helpful to the overall economy of Louisiana as well.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? Motion by Creed and seconded by Williams Brown. Next up is the Masters of Science and Architecture program at LSU and A&M.
Thank you. Yes. So this is a request from LSU A&M to start a new master's degree in architecture. LSU actually has a master's in architecture that already exists. It's an MArch rather than the master's in MS in architecture. This program would be. Those 2 programs would serve remarkably different purposes. So the existing master's degree that they have on the books, the MArch, it's a 96-hour non-thesis degree that is specifically focused on professional architects. This is a way that professional architects can move forward in their careers, and it leads to various different levels of licensure. Plays a very, very different role from the degree that they're proposing today, which is a 36-hour master's degree, which is a thesis-based master's degree. This idea is really to create a pathway for people who have a bachelor's degree in architecture to then build towards the Doctor of Design that they have on their campus, which would then allow people to look at architecture from a research point of view and build toward doctoral level study in architecture, which again is very much in keeping with the role of a flagship institution to have that capability. And as you imagine, very different to have that 36-hour thesis-based pathway to doctoral degree as opposed to a very professional 96-hour MR degree that exists. The coursework that is involved in this 36-hour program is already part of the course offerings in the college, and so consequently, there's really no additional resource footprint in offering a degree other than creating the new curriculum that's involved. So with that, senior staff recommend the approval of the academic program as presented.
Is there a motion to accept this academic program? Second by Regent Bates, by Williams Brown. Any further discussion? Questions or objections? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Goodman. Next is research and sponsored initiatives. Ms. Carrie Ferguson.
So careful to handle the clicker.
Right. We have one agenda item on RSI's agenda today, and that's the appointment of an endowed chairholder without a national search at the University of New Orleans. This is to fill the James R. Moffett Chair in World Resources, which is $1 million chair that was matched by the Board of Regents about 25 years ago. And UNO proposes to appoint Dr. Mohammed Kabir Hassan to this chair. Dr. Hassan is highly accomplished, highly published, and highly respected in his field. He has published hundreds of refereed articles and book chapters. He has presented more than 600 times in invited presentations across the world. He is certain to win a national search should one be conducted, and the senior staff recommends approval of this appointment.
Regent Temple.
This, putting the motion out.
Okay, I thought you were wanting to speak.
After that explanation.
Yes, quite a resume. All right, there's a motion on the table.
Second.
Okay, Temple and May, any further discussions? Any questions or objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next is statewide.
That was easy, huh?
That was very easy. Thank you,
Set the
Karen.
land speed record. Thank you.
We'll get out of here. and
It's
talk
gonna be
lunch.
me today. Right.
All right, we're gonna hear from Dr. Suzanne and Craig on statewide programs. First item is the consent agenda. Dr. Craig, will you please proceed?
Yes, so on the consent agenda today, we have two items. We have our TOPS home study exemption, of which we have one student who has needed to begin the program for home study after the 10th grade year. In the second item, we had 25 students request for an exception to the TOPS regulatory provisions. Both sets of items have gone through the LASFA advisory board, met all requirements for approval then to be submitted to you. And so we are recommending, if there are no questions, the LASFA advisory board recommends approval of the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Dr. Craig. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Williams Brown, seconded by Temple. Any further discussion, questions, or objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Susan, I was gonna ask if you would just elaborate on the exception with the 25 students.
Yeah, so what we've got some medical exceptions that are staff approved, but like, for instance, these 25 exceptions are students where they aren't routine exceptions to either the 24-hour requirement or the grade point average requirement. I know that there was one item in years past that's been brought up before where one of the students had, the apartment had been completely covered with carpenter ants, and we actually received the pictures from the student. Like the student had to move out of the apartment, and there was lots of extenuating circumstances. It wasn't just,
These are all unique cases.
these are unique cases, not
No, there's some
not that we had
situated.
the doctor's excuses, medical exemptions for it. These were all very unique cases as to why this student would need an exemption to maybe the 12-hour requirement for a given semester. Robin, I don't know if you want to come add any additional.
I don't think so. You did.
I did great. Okay, good. I'm learning. But these 25 cases didn't meet the requirements that gave staff approval. We have some cases that where we can go in if we have all of the medical records. We can go ahead and actually provide some exemptions. These 25 cases did not meet the regulatory requirements. They were exceptional.
But you and staff have reviewed them.
Every single one.
Okay.
We have a team. Okay, so I'll just talk a little bit about the process. We have a team of staff members that it's a cross section of the team who come together. We review every file, we review every document, we pull their records from the department, from the institutions where they are serving. In many cases, we get a file from the student that the documentation that basically proves their case before we ever bring them to, before we make any decisions. These particular cases, we pull together this packet of information. It actually goes to the LASFA advisory board. We present these special cases to the LASFA advisory board. They vote on these special cases before we ever bring them to you. So they've gone through 2 rounds of review before you see them.
And the students petition LASFA, or
Yes.
you all do it proactively? I mean,
No,
it's
the
not gonna
students
happen without-
petition us for exceptions to usually it's either the grade point averages, but mostly it's the 24-hour consecutive service. We've got several, some of the ones, I guess a good example is military service. So maybe they have to step out for a semester for military service. So we automatically grant them that exemption if they've had to pull out for the National Guard and they can't serve 2 consecutive semesters because they've been asked to serve. That automatically allows them for an exemption if they've met all of the requirements. That's just a good example. Yeah, sure.
All right, any other discussions, questions, or objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next, we'll hear an update on the wildly successful MJ Foster Promise Program. Dr. Craig, please proceed.
Sure. So I've asked Melinda to pass out to you our latest update as of this morning. As you can see, we have $804.49 left available in our MJ Foster program. So as you can see, our money is almost evenly spent between proprietary schools and public school funding. We have been able to fund the programs or student requests through 12/31. Now, we continue to receive requests for funding if the Division of Administration finds any additional funds and sends us, let's just say they send us $2 more million. We can spend it because we actually track these in order and we expend these funds in order. It's a first come, first serve program. So we have them in order. And if additional funds are found and are sent to us, we can start funding this program again almost immediately. We're ready to roll. But as you can see here, we cannot fund any additional students in the MJ Foster program during the 26th fiscal year unless additional dollars are found for that program. But the good news is, as Elizabeth said, and we are grateful to Governor Landry for recognizing how critical and crucial this program is to the students of the state of Louisiana. And we have an additional $14.5 million in the executive budget. I anticipate, I hope that this will be able to get us through the full year next year, or expend the dollars and then we need more money, right? More dollars means more credentials being earned by our adult population of students, which is how we are going to move Louisiana forward, and Louisiana will prosper. We'll move Louisiana from poverty to prosperity. So that is my update on the MJ Foster. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Good slogan, more dollars, more credentials.
More dollars, more credentials. That's exactly right.
T-shirts.
I want Tristan, I'm sorry, go ahead. I want Tristan to remind us of the ROI.
Oh, yes, please.
MJ Foster.
Oh, yeah, happy to do that. Yeah, so latest numbers that we have is for graduates of the program, their annual income increases by on average $36,000. So it's just a tremendously transformational.
Serve about 10,000.
Yeah.
We've served about 10,000.
Served about 10,000, produced about 6,000.
graduates.
Yes, that's right.
Tristan, that's 36,000 annual.
So an increase into the 6,000.
So over $1 million during a career. That's
Awesome. So
Great.
that's right. I like that way of saying.
That's
I like that way of saying
Yeah.
it too. That's fantastic.
So,
What are your arguments today?
Yes,
so the budget is right at 10 million, right?
correct.
And how much was requested for the next year?
Oh, an additional 14.5 million. So we'll have, the budget's really, I think it's around, I think 9.5 is what the original, go ahead, Elizabeth. She's waving to me in the back.
Great, so currently we have received 10.5 million in appropriated dollars, of which we're able to use 3% for administrative costs. So of that 10.5, 9.975 goes straight into the hands of all of the students.
That subtotal at the very bottom of the page, you'll see that before the
Oh, I got it.
804.
I got it.
Okay,
My second question. These proprietary schools, now I'm a pro public, but I get it, and they do serve a role. We keep data, I know,
yes.
on these, and I would just be curious, especially $5.6 million. Which of the programs and geography wise, we're gonna need some help. Well, you go from 10.5 to 25. How did that administratively, I guess the 3%, you're gonna need something to help. That's a lot of admin support.
The 3% is based on statute, so it would be 3% of
The 20,
Of the 25.
right, and is that enough to manage the
Yes.
Yes,
staff wise to almost double your?
it is.
more than double?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right, and then
Susanna and I are very efficient.
We are. No, it is. It will be enough. Yes.
Yeah. And then my second question, on that proprietary, I would like to, if you got the data, I would like to see the schools.
Sure.
Just, if it's so-and-so business college, just curious. That's an interesting fact that more of the MJ Foster goes to proprietary, and that's just surprising to me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong.
Well, some of it has to do with the price of the price of the degree that they offer. Originally, when the MJ Foster program was developed, it was capped at 500,000 for proprietary schools. But the legislature in year 2 changed that to allow it to be open for both equal public and proprietary. We don't anticipate the will of the legislature to go back on that. So I would say that the MJ Foster Promise program is focused more on, there are certain programs that high demand, high wage programs that can be utilized for the MJ Foster program. So not every program that a proprietary school offers can be, MJ Foster can be used for, but we will certainly get you the data that you need.
Yeah, I just think that going in that direction, we need to make sure that those proprietary schools are utilizing for really high demand programs.
Agreed.
And when all these community colleges complain about these standstill budgets, you know, this is an opportunity for them to have resources. And if we do need to tell the legislature that, you know, we need to be 75%, you know, whatever that number is, I don't have a problem doing it, but I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
what the data will show. That was a business, one of my fellow committee 100 members. This would probably explain why he said when we did, we met with workforce and we identified programs based on the geographies. And a program wasn't high demand anymore, so it got pulled off the list. They were probably utilizing this to fund this program. And now that the program is not eligible, and I didn't bring it up because I agree that it's not high demand, but seeing that he's a proprietary school, this is an interesting statistic for me.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the 5 areas are construction, nursing, manufacturing, IT, and
Supply chain, the transportation.
Transportation.
So
That's
those are-
Diesel Driving
those are the 5
Academy, that type of thing.
So the workforce commission sets the,
Correct.
yes, but we'll get you the information for sure.
This is good.
Everybody on the team knows MJ Foster, right?
Yes,
We serve it here.
we do.
We're gonna need all voices to rally the legislature to make sure that we keep this great program going.
Absolutely. And we do need for all of you to, you know, oh, sorry, don't, not mean that happened. We do need that 14.5 million to stay in the governor's executive budget. I mean, the money is critical and will be used. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Our next item is other business, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge the excellent Momentum Summit that was held in Lafayette this week. Sadly, I could not go. I got home and I was having to deal with a little bit of storm stuff from the ice storm. But I was so upset because Tristan always does such a good job, you and your team, and it's a lot of excitement around the Momentum Summit. It's truly something that's making a difference in lives. I believe that Regent David was able to attend, and of course, our commissioner. It's such an awesome program.
I want to cover our whole board, but one amazing presentation, 500 people there.
It's huge.
Went to dinner, kind of like y'all did a year ago, with the crew, and y'all need to know the absolute superstars of the country in higher ed are there. The head of all community technical colleges, the head of the biggest fundraising organizations and grant producing, just this table. My wife and I went to this dinner. We're like, we're not worthy to be at this table with these amazing folks, and to hear this high-minded conversation, and to hear these heads from all over the country say, no one invites us to these conversations like this, but they want to be here to see what Louisiana's doing. Because they can see it's different than our neighbors and it's different than anywhere around the country, because everyone has financial problems, everyone has other problems, and to see our momentum, to see where we're going towards and above our goals in 2030. And Tristan's speech was amazing. He let out the entire thing and it was captivating. And it wasn't just the accent, he's actually really smart. But it's not just that. I mean, the respect, that crew, these people who see all the best in the world, the respect they have for Commissioner Reed and for her team, for Elizabeth, for Kristen, was unbelievable. And it translates into dollars. And Commissioner, I need you to help us explain to the rest of our board and to the state how the great work that you and your team are doing is has two people at the table giving the Board of Regents $5.5 million. You talking about return on investment? Commissioner Reed, you sure are that.
It's amazing, very much.
But great, it was an amazing event, and just Thank y'all for letting us be a part of it.
I know I have FOMO, 'cause I missed it this year. Kristen, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I agree. I want to say a big thank you to my team. Really, for it's a whole Regents event. You know, the reality is it takes the whole agency to put on this event, and it takes a whole year to put together. We'll be talking next week about planning next year's event, because the reality is it's that kind of scale. And as you said, we've been blessed by the support that we've had from philanthropy organizations who have bought into investing in what it is that's happening here in Louisiana. It's a way for us to be able to create a showcase about what's going on, to raise the profile of the tremendous work that's happening at all of our institutions.
It was a video, we need to share it with the board, I think. They were talking at dinner about your graph with the matriculating students and math and science versus rapid where we can watch it.
Tristan will bring us the PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint that he has done. He said, now you know what mathematicians do on Saturday when it's raining. 10,000 data points of math, English, student success.
That makes my.
Yesterday, for the first time, we tried something new. I think sometimes people say, well, is Louisiana excited about momentum? So this year we actually had a Shark Tank event. And that was the closeout where I surprised them on Wednesday morning. As part of the presentation, I said, okay, so I need institutions to step up, and something that's a takeaway, something that you learned, something that you were inspired by at the summit. I need by midnight tonight for you to write that up as a proposal, as about how that now you can incorporate that into the momentum work that you have on your campus and how that could be an enhancement moving forward. And then the top 8 would then be chosen to present at the closeout yesterday afternoon. We had 27 proposals by midnight. And then we chose those 8. We easily could have chosen half of them, probably more than that, but it was a tough decision. We got those 8, and then 4 were then provided with $10,000 to be able to move forward with their idea. And again, the other 4 certainly are deserving of money, and as always, it's a great challenge to us to say, we want to provide the support for you to do the work that you're doing. As the commission says, we don't graduate anybody. We work with the campuses who do the actual work. So this is about enabling them to do that. So this afternoon, I'll be trying to find $20,000 so we can support those other ones as well. So it was really exciting.
Money well spent. Yes,
I'll just add very briefly that we have a rockstar team. As Regent Dobby mentioned, people come from all over the country to be experts and to share and to support and to provide philanthropic support. After our dinner, the funders said we're in for again, so we'll be talking with them about additional dollars. But I also wanted to mention that the head of NASH was there, the head of the National Association of System Presidents, and already has asked, could we make space available for 5 to 10 states who want to see it in action and then want to replicate it in their states? And then Strong Start to Finish, that's doing developmental math reform, they had 17 states stay for the first day to see it in action. So the work we're doing obviously is important for all of our institutions in our state, but we're also demonstrating how to scale work that moves talent forward, and lots of states want to see it. You got to have a pace car in higher ed, right? Somebody has to jump out there and demonstrate it. And I'm proud that our team is doing just that.
Everybody in this room is, well, maybe it's just for Tristan, from around here. We've been living here a long time and seeing what's going on. Usually we're an example of what not to do.
Right.
In this state. And here we are, the smartest people in higher education in the country, want to duplicate what we're doing. Thank y'all for being such thought leaders here.
Thank you so much. All right, and last little comment, as you guys know, phone calls, I have decided to throw my hat in the ring for the congressional CD5 race that was being vacated by Julia Letlow. Northeast Louisiana is my hometown, and I feel like it's a good time for me to put my hat in the ring and be able to run for that seat and represent my area. That being said, this work that I have done here is extremely important, And I am still committed to doing the work with Regents and it being a priority. I have called on my most amazing vice chair, and Terry and I have worked together in healthcare also. She is going to make sure that she carries the torch and we can get work done without any hiccups while I'm on this 90-day sprint of a campaign. But I just want to let you guys know, I've checked with Uma. There's nothing that says that I cannot serve in both roles, and I will continue to put my heart and soul into this. And I'm so thankful for the help and support from my vice chair, Terry Sterling, who's going to help us get through this.
My pleasure, and the executive committee and the full board of regents will support you and continue our outstanding work.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Well, guys, is there any other business that needs to come before the board?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to remind you all that we have a visit to the Federal Reserve Bank in New Orleans scheduled for Monday, February 23rd. We will start at 10 a.m. It's informational only. It's an optional field trip. If you cannot make it, it's no big deal. I emailed you guys about it, but they do need to know names of those who would like to attend so that you can be put on the list for security reasons. We'll start at 10 a.m. with a meeting with some of the experts to go over the economy and some key indicators for Louisiana, and then move into lunch at around 11:30. You guys should be done and on your way home by 2.
Nice.
If you recall from the budget meeting, we talked about that COVID and Katrina have typically been the only two things that have kind of moved the needle. And in light of our current investment, and often what Philip reminds us of, we've asked them to kind of put this all into perspective for us. And the lead economist is coming from the Atlanta Fed. He knows Louisiana. He's worked with the commissioner in some of the work around the earning cliff that individuals experience. And so this is really an opportunity for the Fed to kind of help us synthesize our great work, the great economic development, and to charge us with what's going to really move the needle. I want to see the needle move in Louisiana.
Very looking forward to that.
That's great. And coming from Washington Mardi Gras, the Committee 100, our meetings where we had heard from the Secretary of Economic Development, Louisiana. That's the name, but
Yeah, I know. It always escapes me too.
Economic Development.
Yeah.
The new name,
or what
Yes.
is it on?
I don't know what the new name of it is, but Opportunity in Louisiana. or
Something
something.
now. Now.
Louisiana now. That's it. That's it. Louisiana.
Obviously, it's not memorable.
They're working on it. They're working on it.
They are.
It's hard to change.
Yeah.
Now.
But
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot that's happening. And I don't know if it's possible, Commissioner, Madam Chair, to have Susan come to a board development, maybe, in the spring. Just to talk about that, because I really think higher education should, just like economic development has a fund, and they generally write those economic development little pieces in there, higher ed should make sure we're locked in and nimble across all systems. And I think we should continue to be a part of this wave on the front end, not on the back end. And then again, I can tell you about the staff. I really appreciate getting the emails on the daily briefing and watching the GOSEP and the impact not only higher ed, but just other nuggets out there. And in the midst of all of what was going on during the winter storm, Fern, it impacted us and a lot of other providers. But, to see my fellow regent, May, sitting at the table today, cool and calm. And I say that because we've managed storm, we've done Fern. That down South Louisiana didn't realize how bad it was. And, we miss you up there, but seeing you at the press conference, we watched it. I mean, my team, you did a great job. And I personally wanted to say I'm proud to be associated, because that was a tough one that came across through the entire North End, but definitely Northeast Center.
Yeah, if I can add to that, the people of North Louisiana are resilient people. that have been remarkable during that event. As far as we know, the most devastating event that hit North Louisiana to our system. It's gonna require some time and some resources to recover from this. I know we have considerable stroke in Washington these days, may have more. But I think clearly there's gonna need to be some federal aid to help with that. The debris removal alone is gonna be significant, and just being down for a couple of weeks, and just having to get back from that, I think there's gonna need to be aid, help. The resilient people in North Louisiana will definitely power through this, but having help will expedite the recovery and get them back on their feet again.
It was devastating to drive in and see all the damage. And I know, Christian, you've seen it too. I mean, just, it's like a path to get to our house at Miss Judy also. It's just debris piles that are 7, 6, 8 feet high. They're just on the side of the road, and it's truly unbelievable.
When a hurricane comes, generally, there's not a whole lot of left of the tree hanging in the tree.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of the tree hanging in the tree, so I think you're gonna be fighting some of the challenges for a little while until, next time we get a winter front, it's gonna knock stuff out of the tree again. Those trees have been heavily damaged. North Louisiana has a beautiful tree canopy, but it's been heavily damaged by this storm. Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of like Andrew to our canopy. Probably.
Chris Charter put it, he sent me a picture. He said it looked like, somebody had taken a weed eater and hit all the tops of the trees. And that was on the, like, he was on his way to Oak Grove. And that's truly exactly what it looked like. Somebody just topped all the trees. Okay, any other business, guys? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Bridget May, Sterling. Any other discussion, questions, or objections? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
So